Hello. I wanted to tell you where I've been. If we've not met before, my name is Diane Spencer. I'm a stand-up comedian, I'm an actor, and I also present a little bit on GB News. I've just been to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. When you go to the Edinburgh Fringe, you essentially scoop up your life, you rent a flat for a month, and you perform every single day. It's the only opportunity I have to do my stand-up show 25 times in a row.
To do my stand-up show 25 times in a row.
25 times, like once a day. I don't mean 25 times in a row in one day, because that would be literally physically impossible, being as the show is an hour long. My husband Kevin, who's also a comedian and a director, we drove together up to the Fringe. Well, we actually drove up on the 31st of July and we stopped at Nottingham. At Nottingham, I had a preview. And a preview is where you do your hour-long special, but everybody knows it's kind of a live rehearsal. Maybe you're allowed to have notes. You're definitely allowed to get things wrong. Then Kevin and I stayed overnight. And the next day we carried on and we drove up through the north of England, over the border, into Scotland to go to Edinburgh. So my daily routine looked something like this. I would wake up around sort of 9 o'clock. Kevin would not be there. Kevin loves to go to the gym. I would get up, have a decaf coffee, and I would make notes in my book about the last time I performed my show. And these notes would be the notes that I sort of remember from doing the show. Like sometimes when you're on stage, your brain kind of splits in half. You've got the front part of your brain, which is doing the jokes, going to the next bit, looking at the crowd, reacting. You've got your back brain, which is the one with the clipboard going, I think you've missed a bit. Okay, you phrased that wrong. I don't think they like that one. Then I would watch back the recording of the last time I did the show. And I try to listen in a detached way to identify, where are they laughing? Where are they not laughing? Is there something that I could say in a more concise fashion? Am I repeating a word? And you can only really identify things like that if you listen. So as I'm listening back, I'm making notes as well. So now I've got a reasonable amount of things to do with the show. At this point, Kev would usually arrive back and he would bring me a caffeinated coffee. We were renting a flat in an area called Stockbridge, which is very well known for its coffee shops and its charity shops. And he could walk back through Inverleith Park, which is part of that Stockbridge area. And it's a really lovely park. In fact, I was so busy, I didn't really get much footage of me at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. But Kevin took a lot of photos and videos of swans. So as he's getting ready, I would make our packed lunches. Part of going away, I want to keep my costs down, so I regularly shop in the supermarkets and I regularly make homemade food, sort of making a couple of meals, freezing them, making little picnics and stuff. And I'd make a picnic for Kevin, picnic for me. At this point, Kevin would go and he would go into town because Kevin is both a comedian and a director. So he would go into town and he would meet up with the people he was directing and talk to them with their notes and start doing his work that way. I would usually have a lunch at home and I would then start to practice out loud. So when I'd been making the notes, there were some key bits of the show that I knew needed work. And because stand-up comedy is a spoken medium, the best way I can improve what I'm doing is to actually say things out loud. I find that when I talk out loud, I have to become more concise and it stops me getting too much in my head and everything overwhelming me and then bleh. Some comedians actually write like that. They get on stage with a concept and they just go for it. I like to sit down and work out my concept first. I like to put in some key words. And then once I've got it, then I like to sort of practice out loud. I would also go for a walk at this point, because walking helps. Just sort of flushes out your brain, makes you feel good, explore the local area, get a bit of inspiration. And then at this point, it was usually time to go into town. I was either going in to do spots or purely flyer. Most of the time it was to do spots. A spot is where you have a show that's like an hour long, because most of the shows in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival are an hour long. And you would have a lineup of comedians. And what you do is you would stand up and you would do like 10 minutes. And then I'd wait till the end of that gig and then flyer, which is handing out little flyers and leaflets which has got the information for my show on. Sometimes I could do 2 or 3, and after each one I'm waiting till the end of the show, handing out my flyers. Hi, come to my show, it's free. Hi, come to my show, it's at 9:15. Hi. After I did the spots, I usually tried to meet up with Kevin. Hour and a half before my show, I'd sit, I'd have a coffee, and I'd open my book again, and I would go through the notes. So at this point, I'm going through the notes, I'm reminding myself of what I want to do, and I'm just trying to lock it all into my brain. And you might think, this sounds like a lot of notes and rehearsals and learning. Have you got memory problems? Partially, but also it is an hour-long show. There's a lot of jokes in there, and it's evolving all the time. So you can't necessarily just do it once and it's done. You have to kind of keep working on it and chipping away. I was allowed to go into my room half an hour before my show time. And it was really lovely because I'd always have a little chat with the person who had just completed their show before me. His name was Ashley Hayden. He's got some shows on this streaming service called Next Up. He did something called the Cunt Trilogy. And at this point, he is clearing out of the venue and I'm moving in. I'd hang up my fairy lights, test the microphones. He would be collecting flyers, he'd be collecting his things, packing away his notebook. And then the venue would bring in the people who came to watch. Sometimes I had a completely full house. Sometimes I think the smallest audience I had was 4, but it didn't matter because we just had a great time each time. Thank you. Absolutely ruddy seamless, wasn't it? Well, welcome to my show. So I'd do my show. After that, sometimes I had a gig. Most of the time I didn't. That would be the end of my day. So I would either get a bus or Kevin would pick me up in the car because at this point he's gone home, he's done his thing. And then the whole thing would start again the next day. That goes into filming a comedy show: jokes, a camera, and a place to film it. And most important of any of it is somebody to drive you to the gig.
We're going to get lost if you don't give me directions.
I've got to give him directions now. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video just about my short experience at the Fringe this year. If you liked it, please write in the comments. Sometimes I like to make little videos about news topics. If you like that, let me know. If you like this kind of thing where I'm talking about being a comedian, what it's like sort of backstage behind the curtain, let me know. Coming up soon, I'm going to have a whole hour show to put on this channel and I'm so excited for you to see it. So do subscribe, keep an eye out for that. But until then, take care and I'll see you soon. Bye. And because we had to basically uproot our whole life and go to Edinburgh, we couldn't pack everything and I didn't bring my little coffee machine. And I love my coffee machine, but you know, it's not exactly suffering for your art, is it? If you're like, oh, woe is me, I had to have instant coffee for a month.